Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Poulan Pro PP338PT pole saw. Customer complaint is that it just bogs. So let's look under the hood here and see what we got going on. You know, there is one common issue with these engines, and that's the air boot on the carburetor. It deteriorates and cracks and develops an air leak, and you can get a complaint just like we have. So the red piece here is the boot that I'm talking about. Let's take a closer look at it. Now you can see that it's got a tear right there on the top. It's in pretty rough shape actually. So accessing this boot, replacing it, really is a simple job. And on this repair, if that's all we had to do was replace that boot, we'd be in and out of here in a hurry. But as it turns out, I went right for the common complaint, common fix, without really looking at anything else on this trimmer. So if we remove the air box, a couple of 8mm nuts, one screw, and then the throttle cable, then we'll be able to slide the carburetor back just like that and pop that boot right off of there. Here's our new boot. Make sure you get that carburetor pushed all the way on. Yeah, that thing was tore up. I think heat breaks them down. One lesson to take from this video is that if there's one rubber part that's deteriorated on your equipment, and it's the same age as the rest of the rubber parts on your equipment, you probably ought to look at those rest of them rubber parts. Crank seals is a good example. A lot of people want to stick up time and money into a really old piece of equipment, and they never think about crank seals. And then they end up with problems after making that big investment. So we'll get this air box in place. Looks like the throttle linkage is working the way it should. First I'll put this locating screw in. And then our two nuts that require an 8mm socket. So right about now I'm thinking, well, that was easy. That was, what, a 4-minute job or something like that. But I'm going to learn here that there's a little bit more involved in this repair. You get some fuel in here and try and start it. Crap! Somebody just realized what's going on. the fuel lines are deteriorated in the tank, and in fact, there's the filter, wasn't connected to anything. Here's a connect-a-zoink in the fuel tank. So I'm going to have to replace the lines, which is not that big a deal, but I wasn't expecting to. So this is just as simple as removing a line, measuring it with a new one, and then reinstalling a new line. Follow the routing on the lines. If no one's been in here before, the factory has a pretty good idea where they should go. You'll want to avoid any pinch points or high heat sources. Can't quite get that filter on the new line, so we're going to gently, flex the end of that line open a little bit. You can use a little bit of heat if you wanted to warm that up. Then you'd be able to push that filter right on there. You want to get that filter to lay nice in the bottom of the tank. Remember, this is a pole trimmer, so the power head's going to be down a lot of the time, unlike a string trimmer where the power head is going to be up. That pretty much is considered in the tank design already. Just make sure that you're aware of it when you're putting that fuel filter in there. Cutting a taper on these lines just helps to pass them through the hole in the tank. So if you're cutting them to length, take into consideration that taper that's going to get cut off the end there. Now this line, I didn't pay attention to its routing, and right now I'm thinking that this is the easiest way to put it on there. We'll get her to cut the length. But look what happens when I hit the throttle. It's rubbing on that fuel line. And there's no real good way to route it here without it hitting that throttle linkage. And if you go back and rewind the video, you'll see that this is the way that it was routed. It came up from the back side there. Now I've already cut a bunch of line off the end, so it's too short. So I had to pull a little bit out of the tank. This one's just a return line anyway, which is in the way, so I'll have to pull it back off. I think these lines were super glued on here, because you get to about an 8-inch stretch on a fuel line, it usually pops by then. So we'll just cut a little slit on one side of it and try it again. There we go. So that's going on the short side of the primer bulb, which means it's the line that pulls fuel through the carburetor from the tank. Now let's get some fuel in here and see if this thing's going to run. Yeah, it looks like it's priming now. Remember, there's rubber parts in the carburetor. Six pulls already. So it didn't run very good, did it? I don't think we're going to have to replace the carb or rebuild the carburetor. We're going to try and make some adjustments and see if we can get this thing to come around. So that's all I got for you on the Poulan Pro PP338PT pole trimmer intake boot replacement and fuel line replacement. Thanks for watching. Later.
Yeah.